I'd like to call to order the Proctor City Council meeting for Monday, August 7th, 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll perform a roll call at this time. Councillor Benson.
Present.
Councillor Reuter.
Present.
Councillor Johnson.
Present.
Councillor DeWall.
Present.
Mayor Ward's also present. Please let the minutes reflect all others in attendance. Administrator Rich and Attorney Bray via telephone. Right now, we'll open the public hearing for the 2023 garbage assessments. If anyone's interested in speaking on that, please come to the podium. Were they allowed to call in?
I don't think the notice.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to certify the special assessment. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councillor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Monday, July 17th, 2023. Councillor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Benson.
I believe I was at that meeting.
Yes, you were. Yeah, it doesn't even mention you on there, so we could add Councillor Benson to being present at that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Councillor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second tonight's agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to the comments and suggestion period of the meeting. The public comment and suggestion period of this meeting is when the City Council offers a time for everyone in attendance or watching from home to address the City Council. Once we move on from the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting, members of the public will no longer be allowed to address the council unless the mayor acknowledges you. As a general rule, the council will listen to all comments but will not comment on or respond to any comments made by speakers. The council will not engage in dialogue. However, any council member can ask questions. If you'd like to address the City Council during the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6289. Before you begin, please state your name and address for the meeting minutes. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the City Council will be prohibited from using obscene, profane, or threatening language or boisterous conduct that disrupts the meeting or the security of the public. Is there anyone at this time that is interested in participating in the public comment and suggestion period? Please come forward to the podium. Or again, that phone number is 218-628-6289. And we'll give that about a minute. Yeah, you can come up. Absolutely. This is it.
I'm gonna make sure that mic is on, Sherm. Thank you.
Testing? Okay. Sherm Carlson, the president of the Reed Foundation. I know everybody here on the council and those supportive people on my left here of the what we have how we have grown over the last 27 years, and all of you have served in a variety of capacities in terms of that support. Just a real quick question. Going back to a January meeting with the Parks and Rec Committee, kind of gave a heads up that the Reed Foundation is in a position where it would really like to make a significant impact upon some aspect of the city of Proctor. And even going back a couple of years, I think it may have even been Laura Condon at that point saying, we have given out numerous grants, well over 100,000 in dollars and the like. but what might we be able to do to say, you know, this is something that our foundation indeed has made a stamp on the community. And the idea came up well over a year from now, and we says, wonder if we could bring pickleball courts to the city of Proctor. And I think by this time everybody knows what the pickleball craze has been. It's in surrounding communities. It's now virtually international, even getting to the professional level. But it's a multi-generational activity that we thought could complement what has been going on here. And so we started, and this was just strictly a Reed Foundation initiative at this point, but we started looking in this area. And we actually looked at places on the other side of, even in the Midway communities. We even looked in the, technically perhaps Klein Park on the other side of the road, and we even had invitations to explore sites up in the South St. Louis County facility up there. And we were looking at sites that were ideally would meet all of these criteria: the cost of site development, community enhancement, potential financial support, no north-south alignment of the courts, parking, noise suppression, access to washroom facilities, easy access, existing utilities, and security. And we were able to generate a number of people that volunteered to give independent opinions as far as these varied sites that we were looking at. One initially started out thinking that this would be an ideal spot next to the St. Louis, or the St. Luke's Event Center up there. Northland Constructors offered an opinion as far as the pros and cons of that. We also have had just recently 2 people volunteering from LHB Engineering and Parks and Landscaping Development. We have sought information and had volunteer comments from the executive director of the Minnesota Timber Resources, so on and so forth. But the only reason I'm here tonight is, and it was addressed in your letter, is that if indeed the city of Proctor would see this as an asset, we are not going to get involved in your decision-making process whatsoever. I mean, if there are priorities that would preclude this happening with the proposed gift that we are offering and will be solidifying in about another week, it's, well, if you're going to catch big fish, you got to throw out a big bait. And so I'm here tonight to say I do believe that within the week we are at the point of offering matching dollars with the city up to $50,000. Now, if that fits into your long-range plan with the lake, again, we have no interest in being involved in your decision-making process. But the only thing that we would ask is that you would make that decision yes or no within the next month by the first council meeting in September. And the process here is just maybe a little bit different than what maybe your letter there had indicated. And we would ask that the city apply through one of our grant processes. It would not take just more than 30 minutes to write out the wording for that grant proposal. And indeed, if you got swamped, I'd write it for you, but the city council would need to have that backing. And if it turns out it's not there, that's fine, but we are going to gear up our money-making strategies over the next 9 months so that if the grant is received, it's approved, that by the first part of May, we are able to say, let's do it, and by hoghead time this year, at the latest, we have some kind of a introductory tournament in the lake. But the site that's coming to fruition at this point is that wooded area in some capacity, whether it's in the wooded area itself or in a couple sites identified by LHB as a recommendation between the playground for everybody and the softball field number 2. So that's it. We stand by our gift, which is going to be finalized, And if indeed you choose that that's something that you would like to partake of, all we would ask is that we receive that grant within the next 30 days. Any questions? I
Nope,
think it went longer than 3 minutes.
you're good, you're good. Thank you, and I think that'd be a good discussion to put on our next agenda. Thank you. Anyone else?
This way.
Oh, yeah, Councilor Benson.
Knowing that it's going on the agenda, knowing that he was going to be on the agenda earlier, we only have a month to make a decision. Does it go in front of any other committees? And will a 2-week delay impair that decision by their deadline?
Has Parks and Rec been involved with these talks already with these pickleball court discussions?
Yeah, Sheriff was at Parks and Rec meeting.
So to your point, as far as the committee, I think they're already involved. Then do you guys have a recommendation from Parks and Rec as far as these courts go that you could present to council?
I think what Sherm is asking for is the financial commitment, and the rest,
Okay.
once you've committed the financial part of it, then Parks and Rec and the Reed Foundation can move forward with planning.
So I think if we discuss it on the 21st, be plenty of time to get him his info by beginning of September, right?
Work it into the budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other conversation on that? Hearing none, the floor is yours.
Hi, Philip Larson, 702 First Avenue, Proctor. About 5 to 6 years ago, I was mayor, and I did a drive-about with Kent Gaddis as we looked at blight properties in town. The second year I didn't go because I thought it was a waste of my time because nothing's changed. And it's been going on 6 years now. I drive around and I still see the same blight properties that have not been addressed. I know property rights is a difficult thing to deal with. The one that interests me most, I think, you guys know if you ever drive by First Avenue and 6th Street, is that property. And I know it's been addressed, and it was on last week's agenda for forming a committee to deal with this. And I don't think we need to form a committee. I think all we have to do, the city of Proctor has property rights also. We own from the center line of that street 33 feet back. That's the city's right of way, correct? The sidewalks that I would like to use, I can't use because there's equipment parked on there of all kinds of stuff. If you've driven by there, you know what kind of mess it is. I know Todd Norton's addressed the council before. I think all we need to do is if they're parked on the road or the right of way, we can tow that vehicle. If they don't have license, we can tow that vehicle, can we not? If it's on city property, we can tow it. I know the council has imposed fines to them, sent them letters and given them fines, am I correct? Or am I making a false assumption here?
You'd have to ask Chief Gaddis.
That being an issue, and there's some tickets issued.
So there've been tickets and fines that go to their taxes. Well, they don't care. They don't pay their taxes probably, so it don't hurt them. If you tow some of that stuff, where they have to go to the impound and get it back, they gotta dig in their rear pocket to get it back. Now that's painful if they like that. They have a burn barrel in their front yard, and as far as I know, burn barrels have been illegal in Minnesota and probably the whole country for years, but yet they have a burn barrel sitting in the front yard. They've taken trees down from the neighbors that they have piled up in their yard that they're burning piece by piece in their fire pit. I mean, really, guys, we can't get this fixed. It's been 6 years. And I know you made a code improvement 2 years ago or whatever that was supposed to help address blight properties. I see it hasn't done nothing. And there hasn't been nothing done with that First Avenue and 6th Street property. I don't know how many tickets you've written. There's one simple way to fix it. If it's there, it's on our property, get it out of there, bring it to the impound, let them buy it back if they want it. Tell them they can't park it on the right of way. 33 feet from the center line, beyond the sidewalk is our property. We have property rights also. Let's deal with it. Like, we don't need a committee. That ain't
Well-
gonna do nothing.
Well, and to your point, I'm not disagreeing with on anything you just said. It's been a struggle on council's point too, to try and get it dealt with. And that's why we wanted to put a committee together, so we could get with the chief and our attorney and our administrator and say, we gotta do something. It has been 6 years and all this stuff keeps piling up. They had mini excavators sitting on the sidewalk for how long now, so.
It's
I-
much-
He's got piles of tires stacked behind his garage, I mean, so.
Simple solution.
Yeah, so what you
Get
just
it
said,
out of there.
what you just said are the words right out of my mouth that were gonna be said on the 21st when this committee meets, so.
Yeah, I don't know what the committee's gonna decide. All you have to do is call a hook. If it's on our property, get it off of there. I wanna use the sidewalk.
Yep.
As a taxpayer, I think we pay for those sidewalks. And they're just destroying it. They're destroying the road, they're destroying the sidewalk, the boulevard is non-existent.
Yeah,
I know we have ordinances and codes. All we have to do is get Ken to write the tickets or tow the vehicle and get the lawyer to deal with it as illegal.
thank you. Council have anything? Nope. Todd?
Todd Norton, 42 6th Street. And I'm just going to echo what Phil just said. You know, I see it every day. I walk the dogs, and it's not like it's gotten any better. I know they had, it's constant. They just put a ATV out in the front yard with 4 flat tires on it. You know, it's just constant. And it's, I live there. You know, we're planning on retiring there. But I will tell you, if this persists, I can just easily move. I mean, we moved to Proctor. It's a great community. I love the people here, but it's just hard to look at every single day. And I'm not the only one that sees it. You know, you've heard from other people around. I mean, you had family members that just moved out. They weren't happy with it. I mean, it's tough to look at every day. And just think if that person was next door to your house, how you would feel, right?
I live right there.
I know you do,
So-
but I'm just telling these other people, you know, if he was right next door to your house, how would you feel looking at that day after day after day? That's it.
Thank you. Council have anything?
I just got
Councilor DeWall?
I don't remember the specific year, Administrator Rich, but when we had to deal with that spill, it was before 4th of July weekend, I remember that.
2020, I think it was.
And I thought we had it curbed. I was out there, actually personally spent the day, we actually had it cleaned up. I don't know how long it lasted. I guess I'm disappointed in our system. It was cleaned up, so personally cleaned it up. And I didn't have any issues with the guy. I just said, hey, it can't be here. We loaded up on a trailer. The trailer disappeared, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was days or weeks, all of a sudden stuff started coming back. And I think that's a part of why we're doing the community route, is to change whatever is broken in our system that's not allowing us to do what we need to do. Everyone up here wants it cleaned. I'm hoping that this committee is gonna put this to bed final and last. But I would echo, I don't even live around there, but I still drive by and I see it just accumulating by the tonnage every day. It's sad.
You had a hook, put it to work.
What's that?
You had a hook, put it to work.
I can only, well, I can't, my cousin can,
I mean,
if
if
he's
it
called.
doesn't have a license on it, it's parked in the right of way, we should be able to impound it, right?
Yep.
Are we not right, Kent, or?
I understand that, the point is that we start doing stuff, like I told you before, we do stuff gets moved, and all of a sudden, we have stuff right back in there, so that's why, how do we stop this revolving door?
If it costs him money to get back, he's gonna either park it more on his property, which If he can get that on his property, I'm okay with it. I don't like looking at it. I try to turn the other way. I go 9th on First Avenue, so I don't have to drive down south on First Avenue to Fifth Street and drive by his place to Ed's. I go around the other way. I mean, it's not right. And it's just as simple as giving them notice. If they don't move it, tow it. If it's on city property, it's ours to tow.
And Phil's kind of hit it a little bit on the head, you know. The laws read, if it's within 33 feet, tow it. It's simple. If your car is not licensed, you tow it. If you park illegally on the road, it gets ticketed. That's simple. That's black and white. You're not singling anybody out. It's black and white, right? I think that it's a simple fix. It's 33 feet and in to the center of the road. It's gone. After this happens once or twice, he ain't gonna have anything there. He's not gonna have a big boat there for half a summer, right? Not gonna be there. It's pulled. It's towed. It ain't gonna happen.
Councilor Benson.
In the morning when I go to coffee, there's an eclectic group of 8 to 12 people from throughout Proctor, east side, west side, north, south. And one of the topics is 6th Street and First Avenue. And the frustration is not just with the neighbors, it's a growing frustration within the community.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good? All right.
Look at Phil. If it hurts, they'll learn. Some people don't learn unless it stings.
Thank you. Anyone else? Natalie, would you like to say some words?
Council members, mayor, administrator, thank you, citizens of Proctor, for having me tonight to speak. It was a first term, probably unlike any other, I'm told. It was unique that we started our session with $20 billion. I'm learning it's not monopoly money. That's the terms used every day in this role. It's not thousands, it's billions. And we started with a $20 billion surplus. So I was kind of excited to see what could happen with the $20 billion surplus. In my mind, a lot should happen, regardless of who is in office. There was a lot at stake because we have never had in the history of Minnesota $20 billion. The disappointing part to me is I think there's personal rights and then there's responsibilities. And we are going to have a lot of responsibility right now because the budget got increased, all the $20 billion's been spent, and we have another $20 billion, 10 billion, I guess, I'm sorry, it's down, it's 10. 10 billion more has been spent with new cost. So when I look at that, it gives me a little bit of anxiety, to be quite honest. And that's why I voted against the omnibus transportation bill, because I'm for potholes, I'm for sidewalks, I'm for roads, I'm for bridges, but I was not for the train to Duluth. I was not for the train to Duluth for $200 million when we have overages in the cities right now, and ridership has been down because we have public safety issues. So until we get the horse done, and the horse to me is public safety, roads and bridges, education, healthcare, adding these other government agencies at a time when we don't have stability in the core pieces, I thought was irresponsible. That's my opinion. I voted no against that. And I voted because also the homeless kids right now, 18 to 24 in St. Louis County, which includes Proctor, are going to be eligible for up to $1,000 a month for 2 years. In addition, for about $4,000 for a car. So I was bombarded with family members saying, we wouldn't even give our own kids $1,000 cash with no strings attached. So I think it's going to be concerning for a lot of people. Every sign today when I went to McDonald's up by the mall to get my coffee, $17 an hour starting at McDonald's. So everybody's hiring. And we are giving away $1,000 a month with no programs for pathways to work with strings attached. So I voted against that. In addition with that, one of the things I was very concerned about was childcare. When I started the session, there was 700 family childcare that have closed. I heard that door knocking in Proctor, people wanting to start family childcare, but it was too cumbersome. So I kind of have dug into it, sat back and listened for the first 5 months. We started with 700 closures in family childcare when I started session. When I ended session, it was 1,000 when I got the report from the state. 1,000 family childcare providers have closed the doors. In the time that I've been home, which is just months, 2 people have posted on Facebook in our area, selling all our stuff, shutting down our family daycare. So I drove there on Saturday to ask them, why are you shutting it down? They're like, I'm gonna work for somebody else. I asked why? The heavy hand of government. They're fearful, they're not willing to put their families in jeopardy any longer, so they're closing too. Family childcare is the only one that does manufacturing, shift work, and so weekends. Centers are great, but they don't usually stay open on holidays and anything after 5, 6 o'clock. I've had my kids in both. When my husband and I worked, both of them have closed. So I'm digging in when we get back in session, and I'm working a lot with daycare providers right now to find out why. One of the things that's concerning to me on the child care side is $250 million, and it's in the news again, went out for the Feeding Our Future fraud. It was funded through the Department of Education, and that was at centers. There was actually children not in the buildings as big as this that we spent $250 million. So we need systems in place at our government because money's just going out the door and we're flushing it down the toilet. And those were all center-based. So it's interesting to me, the family child care has lost 1,000 providers, but we've increased center child cares. And that's where the fraud has been. And so I'm gonna be asking a lot of questions on reports. One of the things that happened for education was I was hoping we would get the 5% on the formula for education because it would have allowed us to do $250 million for schools. My dad was a public school superintendent. My mom was a bus driver. So I'm familiar with public education. The Democrats put forth 4 and 2, and all the school districts are saying we should have got nothing because our costs are going to take us right over the roof with all the new mandates. So my question was, we should have had 5 and 5 on the formula, so we could have put science of reading back, because when I looked at the test scores for reading, I was shocked because I came out of education, a public school education, and right now 30 to 50% of Minnesotans can read at grade level. So last week when I was at the 49ers apprenticeship place in Hinckley, you have to pass a Ramsey test with the 8th grade education. I went on all their heavy equipment. I wouldn't be a good operator, but I did it. But it is critical. That is the biggest discrimination for all children, regardless of race or gender, if our kids can't read. So I am 100% focused on education, getting kids to read. You can't even go to Quick Trip to follow a checklist if you can't read. So we have to get kids reading. We had $20 billion. I thought we would for sure make education a priority to that degree. We funded reading at 40, 50 million. It should have been 250 million, so the teachers had what they need to close the gaps after a pandemic, mentoring. We cannot have kids graduating that can't read. I'm most proud of the 300 million that went to the nursing homes. The whole session, I was the only one I stood up on the House floor the whole session and at committees saying, look, we have One Minnesota as our puzzle slogan, but if we don't keep nursing homes open, there's no place for the fire department when they bring them in the ambulance from an assisted living to the hospital, and the hospital can't take them back because their care level's too much. When the nursing homes close in 2 harbors in the towns around us, families are going to be burdened. And we have snow for 6 months of the year up here. It doesn't seem like it today, but I assure you it'll come. So I said, look, it's short-sighted. Nursing homes are the only model that have nurses 24 hours a day. And some people are living to 100+ years old. It's commonplace today, and they are heavy care. So on the last day, we had a bill pass 100% after nobody would pass it for the whole session. It was very frustrating. And on the last day, we got the nursing home bill. It's a Band-Aid. We have a lot of work to do. And I'm happy to offer it. I got put to the Long-Term Aging Committee Task Force. I got appointed, and I'm excited to be there because it's been my wheelhouse. Most of you on this committee have been here long enough to know that I opened an assisted living. I was an entrepreneur, opened Diamond Willow here. Small business and growth in small business is integral to public education and to small towns. This is where I grew up, in small town Minnesota. I grew up in St. Francis, built the first Diamond Willow here. And I was a minority owner, and the majority owners built 26, I think, across northern Minnesota. And it's still here. And without these small businesses that are for profit, they pay taxes to the city, to the schools, to the fire, to the police. And without it, all those tax burdens are going to go to every one of us in this room that are working. That's just math 101. So I'm here, and while I'm not involved with it anymore, haven't been involved with Diamond Willow since 2020, and I've completely resigned from 24-hour operation. I'm doing a new job, and I have a new part-time job too. But I'm passionate about getting business climate strong, because there's tremendous opportunity for Proctor. You're right off the freeway. We have so much opportunity here. This is where I came, was Proctor. The first house for my grandma was built in 2005, still here. And I'm proud of that. And we only built in small towns. And that's what I believe is the heart of Minnesota. So I'm gonna keep working hard for that, working on childcare. I've been working with Proctor to get your capital projects. I've submitted them. There'll be a bonding tour coming soon, so I put it on the list. I am not the jurisdiction for making all those decisions, but I will work with Senator Hofschild too on the bonding ideas for Proctor. It's a priority to me that Proctor has some success here in the next bonding go around. I voted for the bonding. There's many things I voted yes for, and like all of you know, when it wraps into the omnibus, which is like a garbage bill, in my mind, there's some things I said no. And sometimes no is the right answer. And I learned that. And it wasn't hard for me to vote no when I saw that the long-term repercussions are gonna be long-term. And it's much harder taking away and making cuts. And so I understand that. I've looked at enough spreadsheets to know we're gonna have a funding issue if the tax rolls don't keep coming in. And taking money away is never fun, as everybody in this room likely knows. So I'm honored to serve, thrilled we got local government aid. All those things should have happened. We started with a $20 billion surplus. So all those things should be bipartisan, education, and these basic fundamental things, public safety. And I'm gonna keep working for it. And I think we have more work to do, but it's exciting, and I think we have a lot of opportunity. So I'm open for any questions that you might have.
Thank
if you
you.
have any.
Council have any questions? Hearing none? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's anyone else. No? Okay. Thanks, guys. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Councilor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Councilor Benson?
Oh, I was going to ask if we could pull A and B under communications.
Yes, sir. Councilor DeWalt?
With the recommendation of our city attorney, I'd like to pull 6D into a closed session, unless the attorney Bray.
Fine.
What do you say? That's fine.
He said it's fine, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so pull 1A, 1B, and move 6D to 7A, closed session. Correct?
Correct.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 1A under communications, Minnesota housing notification to local officials. Councilor Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just curious, when they talk about a housing tax credit, what exactly does that mean?
I don't know.
Because I didn't know if that was a tax credit coming from the state or if that was a local property tax credit.
My understanding on that, when it was first discussed for this project, was it was a state tax break. But I can't confirm that. That was my understanding.
Yeah, I should have asked earlier, and I apologize for that, but,
Any further discussion?
no, that was my only question,
Okay.
is where the credit comes from.
Brings us to 1B under communications, 2023 Hoghead Food Craft Vendors and Neighbor Notification. Councilor Benson.
For as long as I can remember, the vendors came before the city council, and we voted on them for approval as opposed to every vendor coming in. And that's fine, but I was just wondering if we know if these folks, businesses, vendors, pay the sales tax, if there's ST9s being collected.
The organizers of Hog Ed are aware that ST3s need to be given out.
They're
We have
aware
no-
of it?
We have no system in place to follow up to see if
Okay.
they're actually paying the Proctor tax, so it would require audits, and we don't have the capacity to do that. The state
Okay.
doesn't monitor those.
I was just curious.
Oh, good question, thank
Just
you.
want to make sure the city does.
Any other conversation regarding the vendor
No,
list?
thank you.
Thank you. And that will bring us then to 4A, clerk advises council, Second Street project update, Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. The project is moving along nicely. We were a little bit surprised about the railroad closure, but it does give the contractor some relief from traffic for a while. Blasting has been complete. There is a rock in front of the school that we're not able to remove, so we're going to try to work around it. We're brainstorming how we can do that. According to the contractor, the project is on schedule, and we should begin some sort of paving here around mid-August. All's going well.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the Second Street update? No. Move to 4B, Sand Salt Garage project update, Administrator Rich.
Again, the project is moving along nicely. The utilities have been put in, the dirt work is done. We are expecting the work on the building to begin in the next couple weeks. But it's moving along.
Thank you. Any questions regarding that project? Hearing none, we'll move to 4C, Minnesota Department of Health Food Shelf Capital Grant, Administrator Rich.
So as I stated in the memo, we have this grant opportunity. It's really quite unique through the Minnesota Department of Human Services to apply for making improvements to the operation, physical improvements to the operation of our food shelf. It's 100% grant, no matching. Leslie attended the seminar and took the notes. She said it's a really good fit for us. This would be the time when we can think big about how we're using our space here. We've talked with food shelf officials, did some brainstorming sessions about how we can move and have some ideas on that. But what I'm asking from you is permission to work with maybe one or two architects to come in and take a look at our ideas and eventually give a proposal for making up plans for us if they see. We need to have the plans and the specs and the cost estimates in place to apply for the grant. The risk, we apply for the grant, we don't get it, we have to eat those initial planning costs. If we do get the grant also pays for the planning. So it's a really good application, but I think this is a great project for Proctor.
They had no matching dollars, is that correct?
No matching.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer, but what is council's thoughts on directing Administrator Rich to get help planning or help with planning for the grant? I'll make a motion to direct Administrator Rich to reach out to a firm to help with planning.
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor DeWalt.
Is that something where we could use our existing engineer's architect?
I'll
to
ask, yeah.
Save some dollars?
I'll ask SEH initially. In the past, when we've talked about architects, their architects are based out of the Twin Cities.
Right.
And so sometimes they've said, this might be, and I'll definitely invite firms to come in and not expect to pay them money, but we just need to know what our thoughts on are, what we're planning to do, if they agree, if it's feasible.
And I'm assuming we're talking about expansion,
No, remodeling.
just remodeling the existing space?
So what we're looking at doing is that back emergency exit would become the food shelf entry. And there would be some sort of service road if we can along here, or a service parking lot. It would be shipping, receiving, the one wall would be blown out and the hallway would now become part of the food shelf.
So it is an expansion.
Expansion remodeling, yeah. I took it when you said expansion, like adding on to the footprint of the
Which
building.
that is, oh, no, footprint of the existing space of food shelf.
And I thought you meant the existing footprint of the building.
I wanted to make sure that if we're gonna spend money, that it was for some expansion
Yeah.
of its existing capacity, because it is
Yeah.
way too small.
It is.
the
They
way
would
it
also,
sits.
we're looking at giving them the fingerprint room, what is known now as a fingerprint room for an office, an official office, where they can do private intake questionnaires with their clients, give them some storage space. We're looking at adding in a walk-in freezer and cooler rather than the small ones, looking at display cases, cooler display cases, rather than closed freezers and refrigerators. But a lot of good discussions amongst the staff and with the food shelf volunteers.
What is the existing, what used to be your police office, admin offices, what, is that currently being used for anything other than fingerprints?
So the first
The old,
office is, yep.
Track or,
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
the two offices right there.
So the first office would be food shelf. We're hoping that we can, I don't know what equipment is in the track 7 room, but we're also hoping that that can be storage for them too. If the food shelf had more storage, they would be able to buy bigger in bulks in pallets and be able to get food at a cheaper cost.
I like the project. You explained it to me on Friday, and I thought it was a great idea, so.
yeah, we seem to be very, generally, we're successful with anything with our food shelf.
Vicky said that in January, they had 50 families, and yes, it's different, you know, it's winter time, but in around January, February, March, they were serving 50 families a month. They're now up to 100.
Wow.
And Proctor has a very good reputation for having a very nice, clean, well-run food shelf, and I think this will help. It'll help with volunteers, because they have to station 3 volunteers down here, and they have to have the volunteers in the room, and it'll maybe help with volunteer fatigue.
Be nice not to have to push those carts up and down the hallway that makes much noise. I don't know how you get anything done.
I wish, that's why I was going off of that space in the back. I wish there was a way we could make that whole wing, you know, that could be the receiving. I don't know building codes, but I would assume we're gonna have to have some kind of emergency exit, but if you could make that whole wing and put your built-in coolers right back where they could back a truck and that's a receiving, you know, we'd have to figure out where do we do fingerprinting. But that whole wing and the hallway could be all part of food shelf.
Since COVID, and we talked about fingerprinting and how that would impact that, but Chief Gaddis reported that they're doing very, very little fingerprinting right now, post-COVID. And so that wouldn't really be a hit for their services. The track 7 room, I think everything's been moved here, other than it being storage right now.
Any other discussion? Did we take a vote on that?
There was
We have
a-
not. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That will bring us to 6A, Tourism Marketing Grant in the amount of $950 to Naughty Carver's annual show to be held October 28, 2023. In your agenda packet, under the, I think it was 30A, the tourism meeting minutes, tourism is making the recommendation to move ahead with this marketing grant. So is there a motion to accept?
So, go ahead.
Councilor Benson made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Again, in your packet, under 3A, the tourism meeting minutes, there was a recommendation from the Tourism Committee to approve a marketing grant in the amount of $1,500 to the Twin Port Rose Mauling Society Scandinavian Fest held September 23rd, 2023. Is there a motion to accept? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor DeWalt. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Brings Brings us to 6C, public safety funding recommendation. Administrator Rich.
So I have had the chance to meet with our fire chief and our police chief about the public safety dollars and what they recommend, what their needs are. You have that in the memo. The fire chief is proposing 21 new fire helmets, 19 sets of dual cert gear, additional hose. He's working on his hard quotes right now, but he has an estimate of $55,000. And Chief Gatus has been working on police squad quotes and bids through the state of Minnesota, and he's picked out a squad, and at this point, his recommendation would be the purchase of a 2003 Tahoe police package. That would leave us some additional funds, which would then be put in the police department, the public safety fund for future equipment.
Thank you. So you heard the recommendation on how to use the 2023 public safety aid for cities. Is there a motion to accept? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Councilor DeWalt seconds that. Any further discussion?
Yes,
Councilor DeWalt.
I think it's great that our department heads came up with a way to use those dollars. However, I am not in favor of spending money that I have not physically received.
When do those funds become available?
December, I wrote it down, it was December, possibly at the end of the year, they would be mailing out checks. The specific date was on or before December 26, 2023. And at that point, I don't know if we'll be approving a 2023 Tahoe or a 2024 Tahoe. We still haven't received our city snow truck that we ordered 2 years ago.
Well, that's gonna be my question. How long is the wait on this vehicle? Any idea?
I don't know, I didn't read in the packet, do you know why Tahoe was selected over the truck?
You talked to me, but council. probably-
Okay, the truck is $5,000 more than the Tahoe was last, actually. Yes, the Tahoe is going up $5,000 to $8,000, especially $5,000 next year. There is one set aside. They said that they would bill it out at the end of the year, so that's why I went with that. And all the other state bids and stuff, so. I don't know if you have any questions on that.
Is there a reason why we went with the Tahoe, instead of a car?
Since we went to cars, the last car that we bought, it's lower to the ground. It's made more out of plastics with our, I would sit there and say with the new regulations of trying to get the miles per gallon up, they're making more and more plastic parts. The spoiler we've replaced on that car 3 times so far since we got it. They go up to the fairgrounds, hit something, rips the spoiler off of it, and we are told we have to sit there and replace it. We've broken 2 radiators in the squad just by doing that. I'm hopeful that a Tahoe is a little bit more durable, and compared to the Ford Explorer that we had and the new ones that they're putting out now, the Tahoe is comparable in price. And it comes down to what can we actually get.
What about the Durango?
The Durango, there wasn't any available.
None of it for 2023.
Correct. This is what was available. This is what, when I talked to the gentleman that does the state quotes on the squads, this is what's available for you. So that's how I had to go off of what the prices were.
And how long is he willing to hold that?
I can call him up and ask, but it's like he's holding it for us.
Yeah, I have a hard time spending money that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great idea. I'm all for it, but I just am not one to spend money unless we have it.
Mm-hmm.
And according to my notes, it's supposed to be on or before that December date, but I can tell you when Santa Claus is coming, Christmas every year, but I can't tell you when the next storm's gonna be. So I think it's great that we kind of have some ideas, but I'm just not in favor of presenting and getting committed into something. What if something changes? What if something changes in the needs for the money to be spent?
Well, and
Now and then.
that's what I was just gonna ask. Where are we sitting as far as Because you have 3 cars out right now, don't you?
We have 2 for sure that are completely out. One with the engine issue that is gone, one with the frame that's gone, so they're completely out of service. And luckily this week we don't have a car in the shop. But most of the time I'm driving my own truck around.
And so that's my concern. I agree with you, Counselor Duval. We'd like to have money in hand before making purchases, but according to the budget schedule, when were you up for a new squad? Was it this year?
We got one last year.
You got one last year,
So it
okay.
would be next year.
Next
they'd
year,
be
that
out.
would be up. Okay.
So the League of Minnesota Cities just put out a press release today, yes, August 7th, that they said that the state said the funds will be released on December 26, 2023. So yeah, we don't have them, but scheduled from the state then.
And if we order it, obviously, we're set in stone, but when's payment usually due on a new car? When you
Delivery.
receive it?
Delivery.
On
Usually when
delivery?
you receive it, but I did ask him that because I know about the funds. You know, when are the funds gonna be available for this? So I can confirm with him when it gets delivered.
And I'm guessing this may be how long does it take? We might not get it till the end of the year.
Could. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last squad that we ordered it in like June. It didn't get here until February of the next year.
Right.
But that
We-
was ordered. This one's supposedly set off to the side for us.
But they still got outfitted and everything else.
Yes, so let's get outfitted, yeah.
So Leslie and I analyzed the budget too, because we acted as if this public safety money isn't available, but we have the squad car need. I mean, it could be 1 or 2 incidents where we're down another 2 squad cars very easily. So we analyzed the budget. Would Chief Gatis's budget be able to handle a squad car purchase this year based on what was budgeted? He has about $30,000 after projections to the end of the year. He has about a $30,000 surplus in his budget. But the reason why we didn't suggest using that is because that's just cutting his budget just a little too close. If you have another major repair, another major case or incident, you'd want to leave that $30,000 wiggle room in his budget.
And what's the dire need for the fire department? If we could order the Tahoe and hopefully hold off on payment until we get the funds, is the fire department okay waiting till the end of the year to receive what they're asking for?
So according to Chief Pelquist, his fire helmets are expired.
Okay. So no.
I think at the end of the day, both departments can wait. This is money we didn't have or knew we had a month ago. It wasn't in the budget. Life will go on. Not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but I'm trying to be realistic.
Well, and I get that, but if we got 21 fire helmets that are expired or outdated, it's probably an issue we need to address. That probably should have been addressed a while ago, but wasn't.
I've been seeing bills of purchasing new helmets. There's been promotions and new helmets have been purchased. There's sometimes you get a helmet right out of the gate that, you know, they all have a expiration date on them. And sometimes when you get them, they might be 1 year old or 2 years old, right out of the gate. You know, that's a NFPA. Is that biblical? Yes, no. I think it's all great ideas. I'm hesitant. I would want to look at our public safety fund. Does that 30,000 assume that the 25,000's already been paid into the fund? That the police
She
pay
did,
in every year?
she did projections of the expenses to the end of the year.
But if we've been kicking that away and we were already going to order, the difference is what? About, the last Dodge was 45,000, close to 50,000.
The last squad car? For years, I was able to do it for that. Buy and install, install the equipment in that, but not now. Because I was able to use old squad equipment, because like the Crown Vics, as you recall, great vehicle. We were able to transfer the equipment and reuse that equipment. With this, we can't, and everything has went up. We've been using radars in like 2 or 3 squads, We've been able to sit there and do that. Now, with with people wanting us to wear body cameras, wanting us to have squad videos and stuff like that, and that push on us, we've been able to have those squad cameras in there for a couple different squads. But now things, you know, they, after a while, they break down, and we have to sit there and get new equipment here.
So looking into the future, how often do you feel we need to flip our squad cars?
Well, when this first happened, it was supposed to be after we got up to where we were gonna get, you know, the squad cars outfit the department, it was gonna be every other year. And for, I don't know how many years we went without getting a squad car, we kept on falling behind and falling behind to the point where we're at now.
The history is we bought one in 12, 13, two in 13. It was until 16, 17, and then 18 we purchased, and then the last one, the Durango, was 2021.
So we've purchased 6 since 2012. So if I do the math, that's every other year, average. So now are you saying that that isn't we gotta be buying one every year?
No, if we would've kept up with every other year, we should be fine.
But Jess just went through the notes. From 2012, we've got 6 purchases.
Yeah, 1, 2,
So 23 minus 22 is 11, divided by 2 is 6. Little minus, because it should be more. So that's 6 new squad cars in 11 years.
yeah, and one of them that we took out of, 2 of them we took out of service are 10 and 11 years old.
I guess my point was, we are buying one, we are averaging one every other year. So I don't know how we fell behind again, other than 1 year, 2 years we didn't buy anything, and then 1 year we bought 2.
Well, and I don't think we fell behind, but I think we had some bad luck this year with, what'd you say, 2 or 3 cars out of
2
service?
for sure, yeah.
2
well,
for sure,
yeah.
maybe 3.
And sometimes, like I say, it depends on when things break down.
So I think the city has been following that every other year program.
I just heard we fell behind.
Well,
So it's
right,
just
but
following up
I'm
with that.
just clarifying, I don't think we did. I think we were following that. You know, 1 year we maybe bought 2, I think Administrator Rich said. But we lost 2 cars now.
And now the overall cost has gone up 25 grand, so I'm making a bigger point out of it as maybe we need to change the process. Maybe 25,000 isn't enough every year. Maybe we have to up that to 30,000 or 32,000.
Into the fund.
Correct. Because we can't have that fund run into a shortfall, or we'll be in some serious trouble.
Chief, could we, no, sorry.
No, the floor is yours, Counselor.
If we approve this, to buy this Tahoe, could we not buy one in '24?
I'd like to sit there and say yes to you, but like I say, it's just like, it's just so frustrating now with how the cars are breaking down. I'd love to say that. But it seems like at least once a month, you know, we have a car in the shop for warranty work, or it's out of service for a while for something seriously broken in it. You know, it's not that the officers are being rough on them. It's just that they're breaking down.
When you say the cars, are you specifically indicating the Chargers?
No, I'm not saying the car, no, I'm saying the vehicles itself, you know.
So whether
It
it's
could be the
Ford
Durango,
Explorer,
it could be the,
Charger.
it could be the Charger, but the Charger, that's frustrating to me because they're so low to the ground and it's ripping things off of the car. You know, just hitting snow in the road, you know, what falls off the mud flaps of vehicles, that gets hit and it destroys the bottom, you know, that spoiler.
So I guess just a follow-up question to Councilor Roy with a different spin. If we order, in our timeline, we were scheduled to order something next year's budget, whatever you want to call it, in 2024. If we order this rig now, are you still wanting to order another new one next year, or is this taking the position of the 2024 order? And then we'd be good to 2025?
Well, I'm, at this point, if the way it's, I'd rather to have something rather than nothing right now.
I'm just asking for your personal opinion of
Well,
what
I would
your
like to have
expectation-
two, obviously, because everything's going up. Like I say, everything's going up. I don't have a price on what the truck is going up, but I've been for sure told, the Tahoe is going up this much.
What would you say, 8?
For $5,000 for sure, up to $8,000.
Once again, so this $65,000 includes outfitting of
Yes.
it, not just the base truck
Yeah.
price?
Yeah,
The base price is $39,300.
And is this a normal Tahoe, or is this a police?
police pursuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a difference in that, if anyone doesn't understand. You can buy on the normal Tahoe, and you can buy a police built package. It is worth money to get something that's designed and built for that occupation, and it does cost more.
Kind of like a heavy-duty truck.
Yeah.
I know, and the prices have gone up a lot.
So at the same token, since we brought up the police here, it goes back to the mayor's original question. Chief Hellquist's expectation of this equipment, is he okay with holding off? Does he need to order it? Has the question even been asked?
If he were here today, he would tell you that he has expired helmets and that they should be replaced. That's his recommendation.
So if we didn't have this money to spend, he would be coming before us asking for an additional funds in his budget for?
No, I don't think so. I think when we sat down and we say, we have these funds, this is what you can spend it on, and they came up with their recommendations. And perhaps he might put it in his 2024 budget if we didn't have it.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking is if we could order the Tahoe before price goes up $5,000 to $8,000 and hold off on the request of the 55 for the fire until we get money in hand. Because either way, we got to get a truck, whether it's this year, or a vehicle, whether it's this year or next year, right? So if something does happen to that money, well, then we revisit buying the vehicle next year.
We're saving 8,000 on what we already were gonna
Right.
expend in
Right.
2024, I would agree. And I would say, it does say on or before. That's the last possible day, but we could know something in November, October.
And they put that money aside, it's there, I don't, things happen, but I don't see why it wouldn't show up, but. We do have a motion and a second on the floor, approving both, and I don't know, we can put it to a vote, but I don't know what council would like to see, if we wanna hold off on fire and get the Tahoe ordered, or if we wanna just approve it all, recommendations?
Can I say one thing?
Chief Gay.
So the numbers would be 2011, 2013, 2014, 2016, 17, 18, and 21. That's when the squads were ordered.
And Leslie's dates must be when she paid for them then.
Yeah, because she's 1 year.
So tell me it's the older vehicles that we're losing.
Yes.
Okay.
The two rear-wheel drive Dodge Chargers, those are the ones that
Okay.
have the serious issues on
Yeah,
them.
yeah, and I
The
knew the
frame
one
and the
issue
motor
was,
issue.
yeah, the one issue was pretty bad, I do know that. So we'll take a vote on the motion and the second on the floor, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Aye. Should we do a roll call vote on that?
Can we still discuss?
We can entertain a new motion once we finish roll call, and,
Okay, because I didn't go.
yeah, I don't think a
didn't
couple of you didn't, that's why I'd like to do a roll call.
We're on discussion anyway. My thought is, next year, we were planning on ordering a new squad. If we have an opportunity to save money and pre-order it, based on when it's ordered and when it would be delivered, it's within that week to where we can fudge a little bit with the budgets to make that work. The helmets, I think it would be fine. I would hold off until like the beginning of fourth quarter, just to make sure that everything is staying the way it is. I've known we've already experienced some pretty intense expenditures out of the fire for some vehicle maintenance items, which I know are never planned, but it's an emergency vehicle, you gotta fix it. And I just don't wanna catch ourselves being in a shortfall of, over budget at the end of the year, unless, Mr. Mayor, you feel 100% that money is good as gold and it's coming, I would be comfortable with that.
Nothing's ever 100%, but I would say with the splash they made with those dollar amounts and their communication to the cities, that it would be coming. But nothing's 100%, right?
I think if would the chief Helquist be okay if we said, make the order in October? That way, by the time he gets maybe we get billed at the end of the year, maybe we get billed at the first of the year. I was trying to use the calendar as our friend right now.
If I may, Mayor, maybe we need to renege this motion and split this thing into two.
We'll put it to a vote and someone can make a new motion.
Just for future reference, when doing things for public safety, to Councilor Johnson's point, would you rather, as a council mayor, rather see that separate or together?
Say that again?
To that point, to Councilor Johnson's
Yeah.
issue, would you, when public safety proposes something, would you rather see these as separate items or together like it is tonight?
It don't matter to me.
I don't think it really
Okay.
matters.
Okay.
No, it's
This issue, these two issues.
Because the funds aren't in hand yet.
Yeah, my only concern, chief, is I'm just more conservative. I don't like to spend money until I have it. I can touch and feel it, so to speak.
No,
I guess I don't have to touch and feel it, but when Jess, our finance director, says, yep, we have a ACH deposit of these funds, it is solid, and I know we have control over it. Until then, I'm always a little bit gun shy of spending, because I never want to get caught where we overspend. I'm already nervous about the street department. We've approved a major truck that we haven't been able to expense because we haven't received it. We have a sign truck coming up on the capital improvement plan. And I just get nervous because eventually all these bills come at once, and then you got to fork all this money, and it creates a shortfall somewhere. And I personally, as long as I'm here, don't ever want to see public safety fund run into an issue. We designed it that way so that we'd have money pre-planned for these expenses, so it's not shocking. You don't have to come up with X amount of dollars, the money's put away.
I understand that point. I just wanted to see how you guys wanted to present it to you, that's all.
This works, it's just, there's
Okay.
some concern.
Excuse me one moment. Finance Director Broomfield's Q2 report reported that the Public Safety Capital Equipment Fund has just over 107,000.
And when's the major payment due for the ladder? We pay at the beginning or the end?
That's been paid already.
For this year, but that's like $70K to start up next year. So we got 30. So if you just add the police car and assuming worst case scenario, we did not receive the funding, we would be under in the public safety fund. Because that's $70K for a ladder truck and 65. Simple math is 135,000.
We've been exploring too the leasing the squad vehicles, but we don't know if that's going to be advantageous to us right now with interest rates. So we'll analyze whether paying cash for it or doing a 5-year lease payment is which is more feasible with rates right now.
Councilor Benson?
And I base my vote on the request from the police chief and the fire chief. I had no timelines. The state said that Proctor's gonna get 134,000. based on a convoluted formulas that they use. And so I believe that money is going to be there. Otherwise, you got 800 cities going to be screaming along with the townships that they're not getting their funds. And they've made all these capital expenses. So when we receive, when we order or receive or have to pay, to me, that's another discussion.
Right.
I was just voting on what was in front of me at their requests.
So this is just approving the request. Yes, you're approving the request, and then there'll have to be a second motion on a timeline when it actually gets purchased.
Well, I'd leave that up to the administration based on delivery dates and, you know, money available, you know, the arguments you were making. But to me, that's administration. They could come back and say, you know, we need to do the police car now to get the best price. Maybe the helmets are sometime off. And again, I don't know the equipment needs of the department other than what's in front of me.
All right. Well, should we get the one motion off the table and we can discuss what council would like to do with the other one?
Well, quick question though, if we approve this, say we approve it right now, can we just tell the chief, police chief that, or fire chief that can't order these until the last quarter? Or, I mean, we could approve the money, but
What I was,
put a timeline on it, or,
that's 100% where I was at, Councilor Reuter. I was gonna say no to this motion and to a motion just of that very same nature. That way everyone knows in advance what the rules of this approval is.
Usually, if I might, Ms. Mayor, and usually when these aids become available, and I think they're every year for cities and counties and for both fire and police, they usually have a time where funds would be available or checks are being mailed out. Date.
Right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll perform a roll call vote. Councilor Johnson on the original motion.
Yes.
Councilor Reuter,
no,
Councilor Benson,
Yes.
Councilor Dwell,
No,
Mayor Ward, no. Motion fails for lack of support. Is there a new motion on the floor?
I would make a new motion, unless Councilor Reuter, new motion that due to the cost savings measure of our citizens, give the go-ahead for Chief Gaddis to get working on this last 2023 to make sure that we can get it. And then ask our Chief of Fire if it would be appropriate that we could start ordering helmets the first part of the fourth quarter, which would be October.
Okay, you heard the motion by Councilor Dwell. Is there a second?
second,
Second by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to go into closed meeting under Minnesota State Statute 13D05 Subdivision 3 and 13D03 for negotiations.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion, Councilor Benson seconded it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. We'll resume the, should we wait for Counselor Johnson? We'll jump in. Looking for a motion to approve the public records or police records manager and terminal agency coordinator job description.
So moved.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. It'll bring us to members' concerns. Counselor Benson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I know Proctor has some bonding bills in, and the House Capital Investment Committee is expected to be in this area September 26th through the 28th. Not sure if Proctor's on the list or not. That will come out for a little bit later. But, you know, in advance of that, depending on what's going to happen with our 65 million request, if there's not, my thought is if there's not funders winding up, that perhaps we might want to try to shift.
Turn on.
I have nothing to say. The House Capital Investment Committee is going to be in the area September 26th through the 28th. We have some bonding requests, and perhaps we might want to review those in advance if we don't have funders lined up or people who want to participate,
Thank you.
because that might be one of their questions.
Awesome. No, good idea. Thank you. Was that all, Counselor Benson? Good?
Yes.
All right. Counselor DeWall.
Just that, got the opportunity to go for National Night Out. Was at the fire department and most briefly, and it was nice to see people out and talking and decent weather. It wasn't raining. It tried, but it didn't. That's all.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson.
Well, I was gonna say the same thing, National Night Out, and then, you know, Hoghead coming up. And also wanted to mention that, Lauren Peterson passed, and his funeral was tomorrow.
Thank you. Counselor Reuter.
I have nothing.
I just got one item. It was a topic tonight, so I'll just remind council that the Blight Committee will be meeting on August 21st before the council meeting. So maybe we'll have an update as far as what was taking place that day. Attorney Bray?
Oh, I think you're breaking up. You need to speak up just a little bit more.
All right.
There we go. So Attorney Bray, did you want the council to schedule a special meeting to a closed session to talk about attorney-client privilege?
Yes, I,
Okay. There's, Counselor, well, you just heard me. Attorney Bray would like to hold a special closed session. It can be during the day, it doesn't have to be at a, you know, in the evening, whatever, it's closed, to talk about attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, do we want to look at our phones and try and see what works?
That's why I'm bringing it up to you now, so we do have to post notice, we have to post it. So the sooner that we can look at our schedules and
What do
get
you-
it out, then
3 day?
3 days, yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So
yeah, I would like
next
Friday if that works for people.
Friday?
Yeah.
That don't work?
As
Thursday?
long as it's before like 12:30
Would it-
or after, later in the afternoon.
Would Friday work for the rest of everyone?
It doesn't for me, but I don't have to be there. He can keep me up to date separately.
Thursday
Yeah.
in the afternoon for me, Friday in the
I can do both Thursday in the afternoon or Friday in the morning.
You all right? Friday
Friday morning would work for me.
Right here at City Hall?
Yes, sir.
What time?
How about 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. work, council? So far?
That was Friday, right?
Friday, August 11th.
That's Friday, yep.
At what time?
Did you say this Friday, right?
This Friday, yeah.
Okay.
The 11th, at what time?
10 a.m. Council good, all right. Is that everything, Attorney Bray?
That's everything for me.
Thank you. We'll see you Friday. Administrator Rich, anything more to add?
I have nothing, thank you.
All right, looking for a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $2,057,848.69. Keep in mind, that is a payment for Second Street included
There
in
is
there.
not a
so.
typo. When I wrote it, I was thinking,
So moved.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Benson.
if the city is going to order additional meeting apparel, I would certainly think that that would be a reliable expenditure or a good expenditure. You know, especially for those who attend other meetings and want to promote Proctor.
Okay, duly noted.
But I think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Counselor DeWall made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you.